Hey everyone, I'm Stephanie. I'm a book-loving, notebook-hoarding reader and writer on a mission to change lives one book and one notebook at a time. And this is the Get Literate podcast. On this podcast, we explore the power of leading literate lives. We talk all things books and reading, notebooks and writing, and everything in between to make our lives better. And no matter what better means to you, the pages inside books and notebooks can help us get there. So, each week, we'll mix together books, notebooks, mindful practices, and creativity to cultivate a life we love. Now, grab a notebook and your TBR list, and let's get literate. Hey everyone, Stephanie here. Welcome back to another episode of the Get Literate podcast. If you can believe it, it is about 5 a.m. in my neck of the woods. Yep, I'm recording this episode bright and early in the morning. Why? Well, because today we are talking about all things morning pages. And since I just got done writing my own morning pages for the day, I thought it would be the perfect time and I'd be in the perfect headspace to talk about this practice with you. Now, admittedly, I did have a different episode planned for today. My original episode was called Morning Page Experiments. I wanted to share some ways that I was jazzing things up in my morning page notebook. But after looking at the conversations inside our Facebook group for the Get Literate podcast, which is free, by the way, anyone can join in there, I was inspired by something that Michelle posted, which was that she wanted to get her own morning pages, or in her words, her anytime pages routine off the ground, and she wanted some advice. And as I thought about this episode I had planned, I realized, while I've mentioned morning pages on the podcast before, I never actually fully talked about them, explored what they were and how they worked and how they do them. And I thought, well, this is the perfect time. And so here we are, an episode recorded early in the hours of the morning dedicated to the practice of morning pages. What are they? How do you get started? What do you write about? What happens next? And even addressing a whole lot of what if scenarios too. So grab your cup of coffee, as I have, and let's dive in to morning pages. So let's begin with the obvious. What are morning pages? Well, morning pages is a concept developed by Julia Cameron. And I have talked about Julia Cameron many times here on the podcast and on my blog because I am so inspired by her own writing and especially her creativity. She created the beautiful and best-selling book called The Artist's Way, a spiritual path to higher creativity. And in her work, working to help people rediscover their creativity. And no, I don't mean becoming a sculptor or a painter or a singer or a songwriter or a movie actor, although maybe those things are creative for you. I just mean developing a state of mind of being creative in your life, of being open, of receiving signals of what to do next, of living in a way that makes you happy. And by doing so, you create things and put them into the world. Even if that creativity is just being kind to others, then that's the creativity that works for you. So in The Artist's Way, she talks about multiple tools to rediscover our creativity. And one of them is the morning page routine. Now, morning pages are 3 pages of longhand stream of consciousness writing done first thing in the morning as soon as you can. So 3 pages of longhand stream of consciousness writing done first thing in the morning as soon as you can. There's no wrong way to do morning pages. There's no structure. There are no particular prompts. There's no single right way. The idea is that you get up, have your morning coffee, and you get to your notebook. These pages are about anything and everything that crosses your mind. It could be what you have on store for the to-do list that day, a challenging situation at work that happened the day before, worries about the future, or collections of happiness, of great things that you did in the weeks before. They are about anything and everything that crosses your mind, and they are for your eyes only. Let me repeat that. Morning pages are a secretive kind of journal that you do have tucked away between the mattresses or somewhere safe, because they are literally your life's thoughts inside, and no one else needs to see them. Now, if you look on Julia Cameron's website, she talks about morning pages a little more in depth, and I love the words that she uses around them. She says, morning pages provoke, clarify, comfort, cajole, prioritize, and synchronize the day at hand. You don't overthink it. You just get up and write, and then you write again tomorrow. That's it. That's what morning pages are. Morning pages are a way to get up and start your day with writing. And what comes out changes every day depending on the state of mind you're in. Sometimes your morning pages serve as therapy, have a therapeutic benefit because you're working through a problem that's on your mind, even first thing in your morning. Other times it's a mental rehearsal of your to-do list or what you want your day to look like. Some days are feeling negative. Some days are feeling positive. Some days are feeling a whole lot like nothing. Seinfeld made an entire show on nothing, right? And look how that turned out. So morning pages, 3 pages, longhand, paper to pencil, stream of consciousness writing of whatever is on your mind. We want to get it off your mind, off your heart, and onto the page. Now, you might be thinking, why would I do that? Why would I set my alarm 20, 30 minutes earlier and write about nothing? Well, there's lots of documented benefits to writing. We've talked about them on the show before. But if you really lean into Julia Cameron's philosophy, these morning pages give us a tool to start the day with a clean slate. She likens them to window wipers or windshield wipers, right? You get up in the morning, you put the windshield wipers on, and you just gain a little bit more clarity so that you can move forward with your day. And you might not feel that clarity on day 1 or day 2 or day 3. And instead, your hand just might be sore from all of that longhand writing. But I promise you, if you stick with it, things do happen. You do feel better. You do get a clarity of what you want. You get these little random ideas and these insights that pop up in your notebook that likely wouldn't have done so if you were sleeping instead of writing. So how do you get started, though? How do you get started with this morning pages habit? Well, the very first thing you need is a separate notebook. And yes, it must be separate. This can't be something that you're just adding to your writer's notebook or another kind of journal that you have with a separate purpose, because this is a very distinct kind of writing. So not only do you want a separate notebook, but you want a way to keep it private too. At least that's what I recommend. Maybe it's one of those notebooks that has the band, the ribbon around the side to keep it closed. That's what I have. Maybe it's a harder cover notebook that actually has some sort of clasp or key or snap. And maybe you don't need it at all, but I know that I like the fact that the notebook has a little bit additional layer of privacy. I know it's not one that the kids are just going to open up to steal a piece of paper out of when they need it, because it looks different. It looks important. They do have to open it. It's got a signal on there that says it's private. And if they missed that little hint, there's actually a sticky note on the inside that says, hey, this is mom's private notebook. Read at your own risk if you find it, but please don't. So you might consider doing something like that too. Now, you might be thinking about the size of the notebook. Julia Cameron does recommend a traditional 8.5 by 11 sized notebook. She wants those 3 pages to be 3 actual pages. Now, I'll admit, super secretively to you, mine is a little bit smaller. I have a hard time physically writing that many pages at a time. It takes me a really long time to get through, and then my hands are often hurting afterwards. And I don't want my morning page practice to be something that brings pain. So I do have a slightly smaller notebook that can fit into my bag a little bit easier. And it allows me to get the pages done without having to fill so many pages and having hurt hands in the process. So I do deviate a little bit there. So if you want to deviate, I can't tell you not to, right? The idea is not that you're sticking to the rules. It's just that you're showing up to the page every day. And if making the notebook smaller makes it feel less overwhelming, or in my case, less painful, and that means we'll show up every day, well, then that's a win. Now, beyond the notebook, the only other thing you need is a writing utensil, and that's up to you. You want to choose something that writes really smoothly, but really smoothly for you, right? Some people love certain kinds of pens. Some people love felt tip pens or gel pens or roller pens. Some people like mechanical pencils or some other kind of writing device. I myself love a mechanical pencil. I love a mechanical pencil because it's really smooth and it's really quick. And I don't know, it just feels like it glides across the page faster, which for me is a plus. So that's all you need. You need a separate notebook and you need a writing utensil. That is it. Once you have that, you're ready to go the next morning. Set your alarm 20 to 30 minutes earlier than normal. I know you're losing a little bit of sleep, but just make sure you go to bed 20 or 30 minutes earlier. I will say for the first couple of times that you do this, I would say give yourself 30 minutes. You need to get up, you need to wake up, push the sleep from your eyes, make that cup of coffee, and then sit right down. And I want to remind you that this is as close to the first thing you do as possible. So yes, coffee first. That's my rule too, along with usually a little snack because I'm always hungry first thing in the morning, but nothing else. No email, no cell phone, no TV, no nothing. So the only thing you should be doing before your morning pages is drinking your coffee to wake yourself up and just being in the silence. We want your mind as clear as it can be from whatever's coming ahead. Did you know that when you wake up in the morning, it takes your body 4 seconds to remember the state of mind that you're in, right? If you're having a bad night and you wake up, your body has 4 glorious seconds to start over before your mind reminds you of all the doom and gloom, right? You have 4 seconds to change it around. The morning pages are a way to change your day around before you get sucked into what it's supposed to be like. You want to know what's on your mind in that stream of consciousness when you're not bogged down, when you're not weighed down, when you're not thinking of what's coming ahead, when you're just in the present. That's when all the really great gifts start to come from your notebook. So, a notebook and utensil, set your alarm 30 minutes early, do nothing but grab that cup of coffee and sit down in a comfortable place. And then the last thing left to do is to just write. 3 pages, longhand, about anything. And I want to stress here that this is not good writing. This is not perfect writing. This is not neat handwriting. No one sees this other than you, and the only purpose is to get off what's on your mind and heart onto the page to start the day fresh. So we're not worried about spelling or grammar or mechanics or looks or spacing or anything. We are just writing. And that's it. You just keep going. And when you get stuck and you don't know what to write about, you keep going anyway. You write on the page, I don't know what to write about. This is a new practice for me, and see where it goes. But the idea is that you keep that pencil moving for 3.5 pages straight as quickly and as fluently as you can, because that's when the good stuff comes out. That's when you're writing stuff you don't even quite know that's coming out on the page, and you realize that these morning pages are actually something. So you've got your notebook, you've got your writing utensil, you're ready to sit down and write. So the third thing in the morning pages routine that people often ask me is, Stephanie, what do you write about? What do you write about day after day after day? 3 pages. What do you possibly write about? Well, anything, everything. Sometimes it's planned. Most of the times it's not. It just comes out when you sit down and give yourself the space and freedom to do it. So I write about anything and I write about everything. Some days it is free form and I just get up and I start writing and I see what happens. Other days I do have prompts that I want to explore. More about those morning page experiments in a later episode, which will make more sense once you have a morning page habit under your belt. Some days the writing is really insightful and I think, wow, I have some good stuff coming out in this notebook. And other days, it's gobbledygook. It's not even really coherent, and it's not good at all. But it's on the page. Some days I write the same things over and over and over again. Something that's bothering me, or something I want to remember that's going well. Some days my writing feels really, really repetitive. Then other days I try to write about something new. Some days my writing is really, really, really boring. And if someone did find it in 20 years, they'd think, oh, she's working in her basement again. And other days, it's like, oh, she had a pretty interesting day, right? The idea is that you just write, as Julia says, about anything and everything, whatever happens to pop into your head, right? That could be talking about an issue that's been bothering you. From there, maybe you remember that you have to do the laundry that day, and that actually ends up in your page. And then you remember that you have to shop for someone's birthday gift, and oh yeah, remember that birthday party that we went to and it was so great? Your writing can take left turns everywhere, right? Those 3 pages may be focused on one topic, or those 3 pages may have 30 different things that have bounced around in that monkey mind because there is so much going on in it. Now, as I mentioned, I have been exploring some morning pages experiments. And so I really have been playing around with some prompts. And some of the prompts I'm getting from others who I know have a notebook habit. And some of the prompts I'm getting from Julia herself in her books, The Artist's Way, and her most recent book, Write for Life, Creative Tools for Every Writer. So I might start out the day by saying, today I am, and I fill in the blank. Or today I'm feeling, good morning. Today I want more of, keep writing. Today I need to work through blank. Sometimes I'll start with affirmations. Today is going to be a really good day. I am enough for whatever comes my way today. Right? Affirmation writing can be a really great way to start. Some days I create lists, and this is taken from a cue in The Artist's Way. I might create lists of things that went well the day before, things that I want to be grateful for, things that I want to enjoy today, tiny changes that I can make today. Some of my favorites are time travel, right? Letters to your childhood self, letters to your 80-year-old self, wishes that I have for myself or for the world. And basically, just as Julia says, you want to put down on paper what you want the universe to know, what you want God to know, what you want whatever higher power you believe in to know about what you're feeling, what you want more of, and what you want less of, and who you want to be. And by thinking through it and putting on the paper, it is. Right? No, it doesn't automatically manifest you into the life of your dreams, but it does give a space for your voice to be seen and for your voice to be heard. So your morning pages can look drastically different from one morning to the other, but they all have in common, they are just your stream of consciousness going on in that brain and getting it off the page. So then the next thing, what happens next? You're writing every day. What do we do? Well, here's what we don't do. We do not share those morning pages ever to anyone. They are yours. Maybe you choose to share a snippet with someone, but that is not how this has to work. This is a private notebook that no one needs to see because No one needs to know what's going on in your head unless you want them to. There is no shame in writing down anything and no worry of showing it to anyone. And the other thing you don't do in your morning pages, you don't reread them. You don't reread them. Now, Julia recommends not rereading them for a host of reasons. It can bring up old things that have been bothering you, or you could be horrified by some of the things that came out on the page that you wish you didn't say. But she basically recommends that you don't dwell in the past of your writing, you just keep pushing forward. Now, I do know others who reread their morning pages, and that's okay, right? If you want to, that's okay. What I have done, I learned from someone on the internet. I can't remember who because I tend to browse so many blogs. But when you have a particularly insightful moment inside your morning pages, mark it somehow. Maybe it's a sticky note. Maybe it's one of those cool tabs. Maybe it's a book dart. Maybe it's folding over the corner of your notebook. So that if you want to go back and really recapture some of those powerful aha moments, you can do that without being bogged down by some of that other writing that maybe was less insightful, but needed in order to get to that insightful part. So you're waking up, you're writing, you're noting the important parts if you'd like, but then you're putting it aside so that, as Julia says, you can put those windshield wipers on and start your day fresh. So that's basically how morning pages work. And the magic comes when you do them consistently and over time. But I've got a couple of what if scenarios here for you, things that I am often asked that we can talk about so that they don't act as stumbling blocks for you. So the first what if I don't write 3 pages? Well, I already told you that I cheated a little bit. Let's not call it cheating, actually. I modified things a little bit because my notebook is actually smaller than the 8.5 by 11 notebook that Julia recommends. And I will say, sometimes I don't get to the full 3 pages. I try every day, but usually what happens is my hands physically run out of steam. And so if I get to 2 pages, great. If I only got to 1 that day, wonderful. If I almost hit 3, well, that's really great too. The point is that you showed up for yourself and you showed up for your notebook. And if you don't have the full 3 pages, maybe you'll not get some important insight from that day. But the fact is, you'll get benefits from showing up and writing. So you write what you can. And if you didn't get as far as you wanted, you let it go and you return the next day and you try to get it then instead. So aim for 3 pages, hope for 3 pages. If you fall short, don't worry about it. Just show up the next day and it doesn't matter, right? What happens next is what defines us. If you quit your morning page routine because you didn't get to 3 pages on one day, well, then you're never going to get the benefits. But if you show up the next day and do it anyway, that's going to define the kind of morning page writer you are. Now, what if, this one I always love, what if I oversleep and I don't get to my pages in the morning? Or what if I just hit snooze too many times? Or what if I was just too tired or the kids woke up or something went on? Well, here's when morning pages can turn into anytime pages instead. Now, yes, Julia Cameron feels strongly that these pages are most productive in the morning, but that doesn't mean you have to only do it in the morning, right? If for you, the calmest part of your day where you can reflect is during nap time with the kids or right after school when you get home before the kids get off the bus or after bedtime at night, then that's the place where you start and that's okay. So I'm talking about these as morning pages, but they certainly can be anytime pages, which is the way a lot of people use them. Now, the next what if I don't know what to write about? Well, then I recommend you start with that exact sentence. I don't know what to write about today, and just see what happens. Or start with a simple phrase. Today is going to be a good day. Or start with, today I want to feel and fill in the blank. I promise you, it's just that first sentence that is the most difficult to get started. But if you just start writing something, even if it is, I am so tired of these morning pages and not knowing what to write about, I promise you the writing will keep flowing. Now, the next thing that comes up, what if I just skipped it? What if it wasn't that I got up late and I didn't write enough, right? What if I skipped it? Well, we talked about this. We could turn those morning pages into anytime pages. But what you might consider doing is getting a habit tracker for yourself. Don't focus on the days that you skipped. Focus on the days that you did the writing. And this is where I recommend not necessarily a habit tracker, but a frequency tracker. Right, a habit tracker is where you have every day of the month and you shade in the box on the day you did the thing. So if you wrote on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you shade in Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. When you skip, it looks pretty clear, right? One look at your calendar and you can see you didn't write Saturday and Sunday, or you skipped Wednesday of the next week. And for some people, that can be frustrating and negative and jarring. And so I recommend a frequency tracker when you are trying to build your morning pages habit. This is just a simple tracker that has numbers on it, 1 through 30, right? Or 1 through 100, whatever kind of tracker you want. There's lots of them available. You can send me a message and I can send you mine. And basically you just shade in a box every time you do something. So if you wrote Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you would shade in number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4 box. If you didn't write on Friday, that's fine. You wouldn't skip it in your frequency tracker. You just couldn't fill in anything that day. But when you return to your notebook on Saturday, you could fill in square number 5. So instead of showing you where your gaps are, it just shows you how quickly you're building up to your goal. And that could be a little bit more motivating for people rather than a traditional habit tracker. So consider bringing in a frequency tracker and popping it right in the beginning of your notebook. So every time you show up to your notebook, you can add in another box. And then another question, what if I lose my motivation? What if I lose my intrinsic drive to do this work? Well, if that happens, it might be for a few reasons. Number 1, are you showing up to the page consistently enough so that it can work? Number 2, are you writing honestly enough so that it can work? Right? Number 3, is your why important enough to you to keep going? So those are 3 things I'd consider reflecting on when you're losing your motivation and losing your intrinsic goal for this kind of work. But you know what else you might need? You might need a new little notebook. You might need a new pencil. You might need a little bit of writing bling in order to make that ritual stand out. Get the really good coffee, splurge on the better mug, light a candle in the morning, make it a ritual and not a routine. Don't make it something that you have to check off on your to-do list. Oh, morning pages, there's my mental health self-care for the day. No, make it a ritual. Grind the coffee beans, smell the coffee, light the Palo Santo, light the candle, dim the lights, get out the notebook, your favorite pencil, snuggle up with the blanket at the kitchen table. Can you tell what my routine is? When you make it a ritual, it becomes something that you look forward to, and you tend not to lose motivation or intrinsic value for something that you truly are looking forward to. But I want to end with one last what if that maybe you're not thinking about yet, and I want you to. What if it works? What if this practice works? What if you start getting small slivers of insight into your life? What if you start noticing that you're starting the day feeling more clear-headed and setting intentions for what's coming? What if you're feeling better? You're feeling less stressed. You're feeling a little bit more accomplished. Your life is starting to change in a couple of different ways. Those are the what ifs I really want you to think about. What if this works? What if this gives you some small sense of peace, some small sense of calm, a small sense of hope, an insight into something going on, right? It happens. Just the other day when I was writing in my notebook, I was complaining. I was complaining about a lot of things that are going on that are zapping our energy and our mental bandwidth. And I was just using my morning pages as a therapy session of sorts and just getting out all the negativity so that I could start the day better. And as I was writing my litany of, things that was going wrong, I wrote, something's gotta give. And I know many of us have said that before. Maybe you've written it in your notebook. There's a whole movie with Jack Nicholson in it, right? Something's gotta give. And when I look back down on my notebook, what I was shocked to see is what I had written right after that, which was, maybe it's me. That's what I wrote. Something's gotta give. And then before I even knew what I was saying, I wrote, maybe it's me. Right? And then I had to spend some time figuring out what in the heck that meant. Maybe I had to stop complaining. Maybe I had to stop holding on to something so tightly that wasn't working so that I could figure out a new solution. Or maybe I literally have to give. Maybe I have to stop thinking about everything that is being hard for me right now. And I've got to think about other people, volunteer somewhere, give back or donate. And the craziest thing was later that day, I ended up seeing on Facebook the St. Jude's Children's Hospital readathon. And I signed up. I signed up to donate and to pledge to read 30 minutes every day in the month of April in order to raise money for an incredibly worthy organization. Right? Is that circumstance? Is that coincidence? Or is it synchronicity? Right? That things come your way, insights come your way to help shift your perspective. And I think morning pages can help you do that. And that was just one small example of some of the surprises that have come up in my notebook. So there you have it. That is, in a nutshell, what morning pages are, how you can get started, what you can write about, what happens next, and some of the common what-if scenarios that can stand in your way or make you think about what is actually possible for this kind of daily writing routine. So I would love to know what you think about the morning page practice. And of course, I would love to know more about how you make morning pages work specifically for you. Because as I said, there is no one right way to do them. So you can head online to the show notes at alitlife.com and comment on the episode post and let me know what you think. Or as always, you can head to your favorite social media platform and find me there. I'm at Affinito Lit. And if you want to explore this idea of daily writing, of notebooking, of journaling, of morning paging, just made up a new word, a little bit more. On April 18th from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Time, I am offering a notebooking session on how to get your notebooking habit started this spring. If you're already part of my Get Literate Patreon community, then this workshop is included in your $5 a month donation. Really considered a donation. That's what Patreon calls it, but your $5 a month subscription fee. And if you're not a part of Patreon, but you just want to check out the workshop, you can do that too. You can head to the show notes or you can head to alitlife.com and you can find everything you need to know about that workshop there. Okay, that is it for me. It is time to keep going on my morning coffee because I can start to hear the sounds of the house waking up. I hope you enjoyed thinking about morning pages, what a morning page routine could look like and could do for you. And remember, I would love to hear about it. Don't forget to find me in the show notes. I hope you have a great rest of the week and happy writing today, everyone. See you next time. Thanks for listening to today's episode of the Get Literate podcast. You'll find links to all the books, resources, and ideas mentioned in the show notes and at alitlife.com. And if you want more, you might like to join my Patreon community. There, you'll find additional inspiration for your reading and writing lives, like bonus podcast episodes, book calendars, monthly book clubs, notebooking challenges, live events, giveaways, and much more. It's only $5 a month, and you get instant access to all the previous content too. You can learn more at getliterate.co. But one more thing. If you love what you listened to today, please take a moment to rate and review the podcast or take a screenshot of the episode and text it to a friend. This helps the podcast grow and builds our bookish and no bookish community too. Thanks so much for listening.